I'm here to talk today about the Pisces trap, which I see as this emotional overflow. If you've been feeling emotionally flooded lately, like you're picking up on everybody else's energy and drifting along, or you're calling it intuition, you might be falling into this Pisces trap. This matters more than usual right now because Mars is moving through Pisces until early April 2026. And Uranus is about to start pressing on Pisces from Gemini from the end of April. The water is shifting, which means that the way you handle your feelings need to shift too. We're going to look at Pisces by whole sign house, as I'm a traditional astrologer, and by your rising sign element if you know it. And if you don't, there's some links in the show notes so you can cast your own chart either in AstroSeek or you can go to the Charney app, which is a free app, and it will cast your chart for you and give you more information about your chart as well. And you can see as we go through these rising sign elements where there's a risk that empathy can turn into avoidance, and also where your energy is leaking out. Once we find this leak, you can find the right container to hold all of that sensitivity without letting it drown you. The trap defined through the container metaphor. Pisces is water, and water heals, it softens, and helps us feel what logic just can't reach. So Pisces itself is never the problem. The real issue is what happens when that water has no vessel to hold it. Because without a container, your emotions just spill out everywhere. Emotional overflow happens when you take in too much without a way to sort out how you're feeling. And then everything starts to feel spiritual or fated, when some of it is just noise from the room or grief that isn't even yours to carry. Sometimes your body just needs a nap, not a revelation. And learning to tell the difference is how you stay grounded. Real intuition and overflow do not feel the same at all. And I'm going to help you figure that out. Intuition is quiet and clear, but this overflow feels heavy, foggy, and avoidant, making you scroll on your phone for hours and fantasize wishes and dreams instead of dealing with what is right in front of you. That's why Pisces can be such a sneaky little trap. It looks soft and compassionate, but if you dissolve every edge you have, you stop knowing the difference between surrender and abandoning yourself. If Pisces is angular in your chart, and that means it falls in your 1st, 4th, 7th, or 10th house, this gets even louder and requires you to build stronger banks for your river. If you think of it as water that's flowing or an ocean, you need really strong protections around those ocean's edges. If that's you, stay with me because this won't feel like a passing mood for you. It can spill into your body, your home life, and your relationships, or your career in a way that becomes visible very fast. And I will show you exactly how that works as we get through each element. So let's start with the water risings, because for you, this energy can feel deeply psychic and atmospheric. So if you're a Cancer rising, Pisces is falling into your 9th house of spiritual beliefs, travel. Your body is ruled by the moon, which can fluctuate and flow. And this usually means that overflow shows up through your belief systems, your teachers, or searching for those big spiritual questions. The trap here is getting lost in what everything means, instead of coming back to what is actually yours to carry today. For those with Scorpio rising, Pisces is occupying your 5th house of joy and play. And this spills directly into your romances, your creativity, and your relationships with the children in your life. The overflow in this area comes through fantasy and longing. You might find yourself idealizing what could be instead of staying present with what is actually happening and allow yourself to have fun in the moment. If you're a Pisces rising, this is very personal. This sign is in your 1st house, making it angular and very personal to your daily experiences. Your body and your identity can soak up the energy in a room fast. But the trap is treating every passing feeling like it is yours, your ultimate truth. For all water risings, the medicine is to create a container for yourself before you try to interpret what you feel. Rest should be your first priority. Maybe take a bath, light a candle, say a prayer, and write down one boundary sentence. Something maybe like, this feeling is present, but it may not all belong to me. Personally, I have the mindfulness mantra that thoughts are not facts. And that is very important for water risings here. Allow those thoughts to flow and don't get attached to any of them. Now let's look at the fire risings, where Pisces can feel more like a hidden undertow, because your natural instinct is to keep moving forward. If you're an Aries rising, Pisces is in your 12th house, and that overflow can leak out through sleep issues, burnout, or a sudden urge to just disappear from the world. For Leo risings, Pisces sits in your 8th house of shared resources and deep transformation. So the overflow might often come through grief, debt, or getting pulled into other people's crises. You can easily end up managing emotional storms that were never yours to begin with. And that weight can start to pull you under if you aren't careful. If you're a Sagittarius rising, Pisces is in your 4th house, which is another angular position that makes things so much more intense. Your home life, your family history, and your private emotional weather gets so much louder now. And you may find that you're carrying inherited moods or an old family fog that doesn't actually belong to you personally. The remedy for fire risings is contained action, which helps you stay grounded without getting overwhelmed. Pick one simple task, maybe one necessary call, or set one honest boundary with somebody in your life. Start small. We want to trust and proceed, but we have to do it in a small, clear form that feels manageable. And please stay with me if you're an earth or air rising, because this next part matters even more with Uranus about to start pressing on Pisces from Gemini at the end of April. If things feel vague or blurry right now, that upcoming pressure can make this leap a lot more obvious. What looks like simple drifting right now can turn into even larger disruption once this planetary pressure picks up speed. So let's look at these air risings, where the Pisces trap often starts in the mind, in our words, in our thoughts, and our speech, in our communication. This is the hidden avoidance piece of the puzzle, because it doesn't always look emotional when it first starts happening. Sometimes it can look thoughtful, nuanced, or even spiritual, when really you're just circling a feeling instead of naming the hard truth. When Pisces floods a part of your life, you can end up floating in vague impressions instead of saying exactly what needs to be said. So if you're a Gemini rising, Pisces is in your 10th house of career and public reputation. Again, this is an angular house, so the overflow is very visible to everyone. The 10th house is the highest house in the chart. It's where the sun reaches its highest placement. So this is why it's so visible. Everybody can see. It's what you're known for. So you might find yourself absorbing other people's expectations. So be aware of that, because it might make you drift away from your own true calling. So you will have to take action and make sure that that doesn't happen. For Libra risings, Pisces is in your 6th house of daily routines and health. So this can flood your work and your habits. This often leads you to overhelp and overadapt, leaving yourself to the last until you feel completely exhausted. Helping others is a form of avoidance if it keeps you from asking what your own body actually needs. If you're an Aquarius rising, Pisces is in your 2nd house of finances and self-worth. So the overflow moves more through your money, your resources, those things that support you to grow into the person that you need to be. So this can look like porous spending habits, trying to rescue people with money or time, or undercharging for your work because you feel bad setting a firm price, or valuing your time. So not setting clear boundaries on your time that you give to others. So for air risings, the remedy is to use your words, create a sense of structure. Speak your truth out loud. Write it down in a journal first, maybe to practice it, or track the actual data of your life. A single sentence can become a shoreline for you. So try saying something like, I feel overwhelmed right now, but that doesn't mean I'm meant to absorb all of this. Learn to differentiate what's yours and what isn't. And now we move to the earth risings. Their instinct is to stabilize and organize everything they touch. So for you, Pisces can feel like trying to build a house on wet ground. Those houses that we see rising on stilts through the water. If you're a Taurus rising, Pisces is in your 11th house of community and friendships. So the overflow can show up through your friends, your social groups, those benefactors that support you, or your hopes and dreams for the future. The trap for you is getting lost in the emotional weather of the crowd and losing sight of your own individual path. For Virgo risings, Pisces is in the 7th house of partnership. And again, this is angular, so the energy gets very loud for you. Your intuition and your projections can start to blur together, and you may find yourself partnering with a mystery or a project rather than a real person. Even the most spiritual relationship still needs a solid form, a foundation to survive. If you're a Capricorn rising, Pisces is in your 3rd house of communication and your local environment. The overflow shows up in your mind again and in the stories that you tell yourself to avoid facing a sharper, more uncomfortable truth. And once we finish this Earth section, I'm going to give you a simple 5-second litmus test you can use this week to tell the difference between true intuition and simple overflow. This is where a lot of people get lost. So I found having a quick way to check in is incredibly helpful. For Earth risings, the remedy is physical grounding. Eating a real meal cooked from scratch, from raw ingredients grown from the earth. Putting your bare feet on the earth. Really connecting with that energy that flows up to us from the earth. It's literally grounding. Touching grass, they say. Check the actual facts of a situation before you start building a myth or a story around your feelings. Our feelings are not facts. So you need to touch the real world before you try to interpret the unseen one. If Pisces is angular for you, this overflow won't stay private for long. So your boundaries are definitely not optional right now. So falling into the trap is the real danger here, because Pisces isn't itself the problem. Your intuition and your deep compassion are completely real. They're genuine. You want to help. But water this powerful needs this solid container to hold it. And I want you to come back to what we talked about earlier. If you start feeling like you're flooded with emotion, just pause and try this 5-second test to see where you stand. Ask yourself if this feeling is getting clearer or if you're just getting foggier as the minutes pass. When a feeling becomes simpler, quieter, and more grounded, you're likely working with your actual intuition. If you feel heavier, more tired, or tempted to distract yourself, maybe by scrolling on your phone or letting the algorithm just take you away for hours into YouTube videos, or disappear into a fantasy in your own mind, letting yourself go into a spiral of thinking where you start off with the story at the top and then you disappear into old stories that you've told yourself before and you've never ever found a solution. It's never ever helped you solve the problem. This is where you're probably dealing with emotional overflow. So try not to immediately make everything mystical right now, because the answer isn't always hidden in a cosmic sign. There are plenty of times when you just need a glass of water, a nap, or just 10 minutes away from your screen to feel human again. We're meant to be living on this earth as humans in this meat suit, in this body, and that's what we've been sent to do. And our charts, our astrological charts, are a guide to how best to do this and what problems we may encounter, what challenges we have, what our nervous system often needs, so that our charts give us the guide as to what we may encounter along the way and how best we can navigate it. But we are meant to be human. We have these thoughts and feelings. It's natural, but we deal with it in a human way. Our nervous system often just needs a physical container before your intuition can once again speak clearly to you and you can hear it clearly again. So first you check in with your body, find your rising sign, locate Pisces in your chart using the whole sign house system. This will show you exactly where these patterns are most likely to pop up in your daily life. And then you can match that area with the remedy for your specific element. Water risings will need this calm space. Fire risings need a focused activity. Air risings need clear words and communication. And earth risings need something tangible that they can touch. If Pisces sits in an angular house for you, pay extra attention, since that overflow tends to spill into the most visible parts of your world. Please do leave me a comment telling me your rising sign and which part of your life is feeling flooded right now. And if you want more support with this through astromindfulness, where we slow down and we work with your emotional weather, you can either book a private reading with me at celestiaastrology.com, or you can follow my Lunar Decan Walk series, where there's astromindfulness for each of the 3 decans within each sign, which is a library that's being built. And you'll also find that my astrology collective, Sphere Kairos, is beginning to work with the sun's journey through the turning points of the year. So there'll be a meditation for Astara, which is 0 Aries. So this will help you just attune to the natural rhythms of the seasons that we're actually in. So the lunar decan will follow the journey of the moon and the lunations And these astro mindfulness, they're meant to be timeless so that you can use them if you have placements in that sign. But I also release them at a time when the moon is actually in that decan. And the seasonal ones will be at a time when the sun's in that decan. I hope you found this helpful. Please do feel welcome to comment, like, and subscribe. And welcome to the new subscribers. I really appreciate you following. And thank you for joining me. Travel well, friends.